ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here you can find some very important and practical application of devotional service. How devotees should practice devotional service is very elaborately given, very nicely described. So for all of us it is very important. How devotional service we should practice, because until and unless we practice as per the standards given in the Vedic literature, Rupa Goswami says, Utpateva kalpate, it is simply a disturbance in the society. You see? So we have to refer to the standard Vedic literature and understand how to perform devotional service. So, I'll just review what Lord Kapila has described earlier little bit. So he talked about pure devotional service, that how we can attain the highest platform of devotional service, and we will be able to overcome the influence of three modes, and we will be situated in transcendental stage as the Lord himself is also situated. So how to come to that platform of pure devotional service is very nicely described. So first he says, devotees must execute their prescribed duties and also understand that whatever duty I am carrying out is mahiyasa, is glorious. No one should think and compare with somebody else's service and think he is doing superior service, I am doing some inferior service. Because there is a good possibility that externally we may compare based on material calculation. Somebody is cleaning dishes in the pujari room, and somebody may be sitting on Vyasasana and giving class. Absolutely there is no difference in the service rendered for the Supreme Lord. This calculation that sitting on Vyasasana and giving class and cleaning toilet, there is distinction, or some cleaning services, mandir marjanam, is actually a very neophyte understanding. That is why Lord Kapila is stressing that point. Swadharmena mahiyasa. Everyone should understand my prescribed duties which I am carrying out is mahiyasa, is glorious. And Prabhupada gives an example. Prabhupada is saying in that purport, one should not think that only Brahmana can serve Krishna. Even a Shudra can serve Krishna. Even a Chandala can serve Krishna. According to the direction of the spiritual master, anyone can serve the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada gave varieties of examples in that. Prabhupada is saying, Arjuna served the Supreme Lord by his whatever military art he had. He performed that in the service of the Lord. The Vaishyas, they would offer everything, whatever they produce, to the Supreme Lord. So, the gopis in Vrindavan, they belonged to the community of Vaishyas. And they were one of the most exalted devotees of the Lord. They were not some great panditas, learned brahmanas, sannyasis, but they were the most exalted devotees of the Supreme Lord. So, gopis, just by offering their services, whatever they could serve, became so glorious. So, should one think that only in a particular way, if I serve Krishna, only if I give lectures to people, or only if I do some big management service, only then it will be considered to be glorious. It is not like this. It is all material calculation. What big is there for Krishna? Isn't it? From his viewpoint, that so-called big is also nothing. It is tuchha. So, that is a very important instruction Lord Kapila gave. And whatever devotional service you perform, understanding it to be glorious, it should be performed animittena, without thinking about some material results I am going to get out of it. That if I collect nicely, then devotees will appreciate. So all those things maybe in the beginning, in our neophyte condition, we may think, and that becomes an impetus for us to do devotional service. So material cost should not be the impetus. It should be animittena, without any consideration of material profit. And in the course of our devotional service, there is bound to be some kind of violence. Just like sometimes people say that even devotees, they are eating plants, they are eating vegetables, that is also life. So Vedic scriptures, they prescribe that yes, one life is a food for another life, but in human life, one should see to it that there is minimum violence. What is absolutely necessary to keep the body and the soul together? Na ati himsarena, without excessive violence. And one should perform his duties in Krishna consciousness very regularly. Nityashaha. Kriya yogena nityashaha. Whatever different activities we have, in our devotional service. It should be performed very regularly. The different angas of devotional service. Actually, devotees don't understand the importance of regularly attending our sadhanas. Here you can see Lord Kapila is stressing on this point. If you see the example of even Kardama Muni, I was recently giving a class in Ahmedabad. Prabhupada mentions for 10,000 years, regularly, he would get up early in the morning and he would perform his different kinds of spiritual duties. When Swayambhu Manu and his daughter, they approached Kardama Muni, they saw that he had finished his morning spiritual duties and then he sat down. And because even though he was performing devotional service and severe austerities for 10,000 years continuously, still his body had not become weak. His body was as brilliant and as fresh as anyone. Suppose you fast for 10 days, you perform some severe austerities. One can make out, you will be very weak. But whereas Kardama Muni, his strength did not decrease. His body was still very, very fresh and there was a kind of teja. It was shining very brilliantly, coming out from his face. So, this is a very important aspect in devotional service, that regularly we perform our different angas of sadhana. We do some material calculation and think, क्या है? एक दिन मिस हो गया, 2 दिन मिस हो गया, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, चलेगा. But actually, we do not understand that until and unless we develop raganuga bhakti, spontaneous attraction, it is not possible. So, some kind of tapasya is very essential in the beginning. Somehow or other. Just like Rupa Goswami says, Yena kena prakarena, somehow or other, try to remember Krishna. So likewise, somehow or other, we have to get up, we have to come. Over a period of time, you will find it will become spontaneous. It will not be difficult. In the beginning, it will be very difficult. One of the greatest fear I had before joining Krishna consciousness was this only. So, devotees, there was one Bengali devotee. So, he used to, after the program, so those who were regular, he used to talk to them. क्या करेगा? चलो फटाफट अंदर आ जाओ. So like that he used to say. And I also started considering seriously that yes, I should join. But then I used to think that only, that I used to sleep very late in the night and get up late. How it is possible? How will I get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock? Used to be a fear. But over a period of time it becomes very, very easy. It is a simple practice. It's a practice. The body becomes habituated to that. And moreover, once you develop taste, then it will be like pulling. Automatically you would get up and you would like to attend, because there is taste. You have developed some kind of attraction. So these principles are very essential, what Lord Kapila is mentioning. Then next he says in the next verse, he says, devotees practicing devotional service, they should regularly have my darshan in the temple. Mat dhishnaya darshana. So you can see how Srila Prabhupada has very beautifully given all these important principles which are mentioned in the scripture. Every day we have darshan of their lordships in the temple. Then he says, sparsha, especially those who are engaged in deity worship, should touch the lotus feet of the Lord. Sparsha. Puja, stuti, abhivandanaihi. They should offer with love and devotion different paraphernalia for the service of the Lord. So, just like we offer bhoga, so devotees who are pujaris specially, they have to cultivate this very important understanding that actually everything should be offered with love and devotion. Krishna is bhavagrahi. Things are there is no doubt about it. But more important than those articles is with the feeling, devotional understanding with which one offers. It should not become ritual and routine work. Pujari goes, rings bell and just chants mantra, and he is just thinking, fatafat finish karke bahar nikalna hai, somebody is waiting for me, I have to do this. Actually, it's a very, very, very neophyte understanding of devotional service. If somebody is thinking, let me finish fast so that I can go and preach out. First of all, you understand the deities in the temple. When we are engaged in the personal service of the Lord, is there anybody more important than the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Is anything more important than Him that you have to attend? Imagine what kind of consciousness a person should have. Isn't it? So I was just thinking, just like imagine if a very important person, this was again in Ahmedabad when I was reading that Mangalarti quote about chanting, Prabhupada was talking about how one has to be attentive. So he was saying, Prabhupada is saying, one has to understand how great the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, how important the Supreme Lord is. If some great person comes, we become very attentive to serve his different needs. Suppose your big donor has come. Preachers can very easily relate. Your big donor has come. Somebody who is giving you 2 crore, 3 crores. How attentive you will be to take care of him nicely till he goes out. Isn't it? You will miss so many other things also. Oh, Prabhu, my important donor has come. Imagine. So you can try to visualize Supreme Lord He makes millions and millions of so-called important people and he makes them and dissolves them. That is the kind of greatness the Supreme Lord has. So with how much feeling one should serve the Supreme Lord, isn't it? So that should be the feeling a devotee should have while doing any service of the Lord, any service. When you are cleaning the vessel of the Lord, that feeling should be, overwhelming in you. This is not ordinary katori, ordinary glass I am washing, isn't it? These are the items of the Lord. The Lord has directly taken from them. Prabhupada says this is the difference between an advanced devotee and neophyte devotee. Otherwise, what is the difference? Advanced neophyte devotees thinking deities in the temple is a representation of the Supreme Lord. He is not understanding He is Supreme Lord standing here directly to receive my service. Very, very mercifully He has come before me. He is not understanding that. He is thinking by worshipping this deity, I have to reach that Supreme Lord. But the pure devotee, advanced devotee of the Lord is not like that. He is seeing that He is my Supreme Lord. There is no difference absolutely. That is an advanced stage. There is no difference in the holy name and the Supreme Lord. No difference in the deity of the Lord and the Supreme Lord. One and the same. You see? So, he serves with bhavena, madbhavena, with the highest love, highest emotions, ecstasy. He serves the Supreme Lord. So much distinction we find. So, Prabhupada very nicely explains that how the spirit of devotion slowly becomes awakened in a devotee. That we have all seen Rupa Goswami explaining Adhau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya. All these things systematically if we follow, Nishtha is nothing. Simply having faith in the Lord, that is also great. But there is much more to be achieved. We have to serve the Supreme Lord with bhava, with ecstasy. So, that is of course not to be imitated, but at least we have to try to come to that platform gradually. That is very important. And then Prabhupada explains so beautifully, one should offer worshipable paraphernalia and prayers to the Lord. Puja, stuti, abhivandanaihi. And he should see with the spirit of Asangame nacha. So, Satvena Bhuteshu Madbhavanaya. There Prabhupada explains very nicely the difference between the advanced devotee and neophyte is, neophyte may be very attached to worshipping the deity in the temple, but he is doing it first of all routinely, without bhavana, without feelings. Just as a routine work, as ritual, he is carrying out his duty. So that is a very neophyte. And at the same time, he does not understand the heart of the Supreme Lord. He does not understand the feelings of the Supreme Lord. He does not understand that similarly, the devotee should be able to see the Supreme Lord in every living being. He should be able to see, just like he is seeing deity in the temple. Likewise, he should also be able to see the Supreme Lord in every living entity. So, advanced devotee is able to see the Lord in the temple with ecstasy, and at the same time, he is also able to see the Supreme Lord in every living entity's heart. He is also able to see the living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. You see. So, there Prabhupada explains this very nicely, that friendship he makes with those who are equal to him in Krishna consciousness. Devotee has nothing to do with friendship with people who are ignorant. For them it is compassion. He is not making friendship with them. So if we become friendly to materialistic people, slowly we will fall down. You have to be very, very careful about that. So friendship should be with equals in devotional service. And Prabhupada says, even though a devotee respects each and every living entity, understanding they are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, at the same time he has this understanding, at the present moment their Krishna consciousness is not developed. Their Krishna consciousness is covered. So, Asangame cha, he gives up their association. He renounces their association. He is not interested in associating with them. He associates with them only to give them Krishna consciousness, not more than that. That is the meaning of Asangame cha. Prabhupada even stresses this point. Even one should give up association of a devotee, Vaishnava, who has made Supreme Lord as goal of his life, if he is not very advanced, if he is inimical, if he is in the lowest platform of devotional service, if he is not of good character, even his association should be given up. One can respect him, that yes, he has taken Krishna consciousness as the goal in his life, but his association is not required. So Prabhupada explains that is the meaning of Asangame. So all these are very important principles. We have to apply. We are all living in devotee community. We have to apply all these things. And then Sattvena Prabhupada explains from Sridhar Swami's commentary that Sattvena, even though it means in goodness, but actually it more explicitly means patience, dhairyena. Not just because once or twice I have failed in my devotional service, we want to give it up and go away. No. One must have that patience, one must have that confidence in the Supreme Lord, that I am performing devotional service regularly, with enthusiasm, with confidence, then definitely, gradually, my material entanglement will go away and I will become fixed in devotional service very soon. He should have that understanding. And in today's verse, something very important, that even though one has respect for all living entities, but highest respect should be offered to Acharya. Highest respect is reserved for spiritual master and the predecessor Acharyas. So that is what it is said here. Mahatam Bahumanena, to the great souls, to Mahatmas, and Prabhupada is translating Mahatmas as the spiritual master and the previous Acharyas who are coming in disciplic succession and who are the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord. So to them we have to offer greatest of the respect. In fact, devotional service begins at this point. In Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quotes that in the 13th chapter, just 5 minutes we will complete. In the 13th chapter, where items of knowledge are explained, Prabhupada says, without accepting Acharya Upasanam, all others will not develop. Humility will not develop. None of the other qualities, none of the other items of knowledge will develop. This is the beginning. So, when one accepts the shelter of spiritual master, that is called as Acharya Upasana. Then, Dinanam Anukampaya. So, earlier he had told Maitreya, one should have friendship with one, those who are equal. Now he says, to the one who are ignorant, to the one who are poor, and poor should not be misunderstood to be materially poor. Anyone who is not having spiritual understanding, who is lacking in spiritual knowledge, is a poor soul. Oppositely, the great Goswamis externally lived very poorly, but they were the most richest in spiritual understanding. So this has nothing to do with material poverty. Anyone who is lacking in Krishna consciousness is actually poor. So to them, one should be compassionate. So compassion means how? Compassion has to be properly applied. First achar, then prachar. First follow, then you can teach others. No one has become a teacher unless he is a good follower himself. You cannot become a leader unless you have learned to follow. You will never become a leader. Sometimes we want to become leaders, right? But leader is later. First you have to learn to follow. Then there is question of becoming a leader. So, when we follow principles of devotional service in our life, then we will be able to impart them to others. Maitreya cha eva atma tulyeshu, and make friendship with persons who are equal in devotional service. Prabhupada explains, otherwise we have no business to make friendship with anyone else. But all these activities, whatever we do, they have to be executed under regulation and with control of senses. Yamena niyamena cha. Even the respect we offer to the spiritual master, how we should associate, how we should offer our obeisances, all these have to be under regulation. So then gradually it will be possible, as Lord Kapila will explain, when we follow all these different principles of devotional service, slowly we will be able to come out of three modes of material nature and attain pure devotional service of the Lord. So we'll stop with this. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srimad Prabhupada ki jai.